Welcome back to the Patronus pages. Today we will be doing a reading from our first original story, Shadows of the Unspeakable. I hope you enjoy. Chapter 4. Monday morning dawned bright and clear, a sharp contrast to the vibrant weekend Alex had just spent at Lena's family home. The sense of warmth and celebration lingered around him like a comforting cloak as he stepped into the Ministry of Magic, ready to resume his work in the Department of Mysteries. His morning began not with the clatter of quills or the murmur of arcane discussions, but with a quiet realization that he was alone for the most part. Looking at his watch, Alex realized he was more than 30 minutes early. With the Department of Mysteries enveloped in an almost reverential silence, he found himself seized by a reckless impulse. Glancing around to ensure no prying eyes were upon him, Alex crept towards the chamber that housed the veil, a relic that whispered secrets from beyond a veil no wizard had ever crossed and returned. As he navigated the now familiar corridors, the grandeur of the ministry unfolded around him, its walls steeped in the history and ambitions of countless witches and wizards. The air buzzed with the unseen energies of spells cast centuries ago, still echoing their creators' intentions. Alex's heart raced with the thrill of the forbidden as he reached the chamber, its door yielding to his touch with an almost sentient creak, as if acknowledging his burgeoning connection to the mysteries it guarded. Inside, the chamber loomed vast and shadowy, the veil its undoubted monarch, ensconced in a silence so profound it felt like a physical presence. It was here, amidst the whispers of the veil, that Alex attempted to commune with Magnus Buckthorn, a spirit he had only recently discovered was bound to this ancient artifact. "Is there anyone there?" Alex's voice, a mere whisper, seemed sacrilegious in the hallowed quiet of the chamber. He tried again, his heart hammering against his ribcage. "Magnus, can you hear me?" Alex wondered if he was speaking Parseltongue. How could he even tell? Minutes stretched like hours, filled only by the soft, indistinct murmurs of the veil. Then, as sudden as a lightning strike in a clear sky, a voice, "Yes, I am here." The conversation that ensued was fragmented, Magnus's responses often more riddle than revelation. Yet, amidst the enigmatic exchanges, a kernel of hope was offered. "You seek answers that elude even those who've spent lifetimes peering into the abyss," Magnus intoned, his voice a mere wisp of sound. "However, I recall a colleague from long ago in Wiltshire who amassed considerable lore on a group of wizards fixated upon a similar veil in Norway. Their research was enlightening." Before Alex could delve deeper, a familiar voice shattered the moment's fragile serenity. "If Mr. Carrow caught wind you've been fannying about with the veil, especially after they've pulled you off the case, he'd be right cheesed off." Lena's voice cut through the chamber's quietude, tinged with both amusement and concern. Startled, Alex whirled to face the source of the interruption. Lena stood framed in the doorway, her petite form underscored by a halo of dim light from the corridor. Her short brown hair framed her face in soft waves, and her hazel eyes sparkled with an indefinable mixture of emotions. For a moment, Alex was taken aback by how pretty she looked, almost as radiant as she had been this weekend at her birthday celebration. The way the light caught her eyes reminded him of the lively spirit that had danced and laughed, effortlessly the centre of attention amongst her circle of friends. Her presence, both comforting and disconcerting, underscored the peril of his current endeavour. The thrill of delving into the veil's enigma was now marred by the realization of the risk it posed, not just to his career but to Lena's as well, weaving them both into a precarious tapestry of ministry politics and regulations. Lena's gaze softened as she took in Alex's surprise and concern. "Look, I'm not here to berate you," she began, stepping into the room, her voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. "But Mr. Carrow sent me to find you. He's in the meeting room and wants to see you straight away. Sounded important, so best not dawdle." Alex felt a knot tighten in his stomach at the mention of Mr. Carrow waiting for him. The severity of his superior's summoning could not bode well, especially if it concerned his unsanctioned explorations. "Did he say what it was about?" Alex asked, trying to gauge from Lena's expression whether she knew more than she was letting on. Shrugging, Lena's expression was unreadable, a skill she had honed working in the Department of Mysteries. No, but he seemed in a bit of a state, more broody than usual, if that's even possible. The walk back to the main areas of the ministry with Lena was filled with a lightness that Alex hadn't anticipated, the conversation flowing easily between them, despite the weight of his upcoming meeting with Mr. Carrow. "So, my mum asked when you're planning to come by again," Lena teased, a mischievous twinkle in her hazel eyes. "She quite likes you, you know. Thinks you're a bit of a catch. I told Dad to watch out." Alex laughed, appreciating the brief respite from his worries. "Is that right? It was awesome being back in Hogsmeade. Felt almost like a Hogwarts weekend again, minus the detentions. Though knowing how to apparate away if the evening took a dodgy turn was definitely a plus," he quipped, a playful smirk on his face. At that, Lena lightly smacked his arm, feigning indignation. "And why would the night have taken a bad turn, she challenged, her smile betraying her amusement. "Just kidding," Alex responded quickly, his grin widening. "The weekend was perfect, thanks to your family's hospitality." Noticing the corridor ahead was dimmer than usual, Lena paused and, with a casual flick of her wand, whispered, "Incendio!" Instantly, the candles mounted along the walls flared to life, their warm glow casting a cosy ambience and dispelling the gathering shadows. Their path now warmly lit, they continued their banter, the playful ease between them a comforting constant in Alex's tumultuous day. As they approached the door where they would part ways, Lena's touch on Alex's arm was gentle, a reassuring anchor. "Don't look so nervous, Alex. I'm sure he's not going to hit you with the Cruciatus curse," she said, her voice soft but imbued with a strength that bolstered his resolve. Alex turned to her. "Thanks, and tell your mum I'll come around again after I can find a nice pair of earplugs in case your brothers are up early in the morning again," he joked. The tension of the upcoming meeting momentarily lifted by the thought of future gatherings. Lena's laugh was light and genuine. "I'll let her know, but remember, no apparating away, even if the evening does take a dodgy turn," she teased, smacking his arm playfully again. Stepping into the meeting room, Alex carried with him not just the weight of his assignments, but the warmth of friendship, a beacon in the uncertain journey through the intricate world of the Ministry of Magic. The door was already slightly ajar. Mr. Carrow gestured for Alex to enter. Inside, another man awaited them, his presence almost commanding the room's attention, despite his calm demeanour. He was introduced as Teddy Lupin from the Aura's office, a detail that piqued Alex's interest immediately. Teddy, a few years Alex's senior, carried with him an aura of experience and gravitas, an implicit testament to the weighty responsibilities inherent to his role. Mr. Carrow got straight to the point. "Alex, this is Teddy Lupin. He will be assisting you with the translation and study of those ancient runes you've been assigned to." The statement, delivered with Mr. Carrow's characteristic directness, piqued Alex's curiosity and confusion alike. Why would someone from the Aura's office be involved with a Department of Mysteries assignment? Alex couldn't help but question the arrangement, his brow furrowed in bewilderment. Teddy stepped forward to explain, his demeanour serious. "The runes you're set to work on were found under unusual circumstances. They're ancient, certainly, and pertain to powerful magic. But there's more to it. Our office came across them during a raid on a location known to have been used by Antonin Dolohov," Teddy revealed, observing Alex closely for any recognition. "Dolohov?" Alex echoed, the name unfamiliar to him. It was evident from his blank expression that he needed further clarification. Seeing Alex's confusion, Teddy elaborated. "Antonin Dolohov is, or was, one of Voldemort's most dangerous supporters. Despite the war ending 25 years ago, Dolohov has remained at large. He was deeply involved in some of the darkest aspects of Voldemort's reign." The information settled heavily in the room, casting a shadow over the academic excitement Alex had initially felt about his assignment. Teddy continued, "The reason I'm here is that Dolohov's connection to these runes suggests they're not just historically significant. They might also provide insight into current threats. Dolohov has been rumoured to be recruiting again, attempting to stir the embers of the pure-blood supremacy movement." The gravity of the situation dawned on Alex. What had started as a purely scholarly endeavour was now revealed to be intricately tied to the ongoing efforts to secure peace in the wizarding world. The runes, a link to the past, had become a key to understanding and combating present and future dangers. Mr. Carrow, with a finality that brooked no argument, added, "Your work on these runes is now a matter of security as much as it is academic. We're entrusting you with an important task, Mr. Mercer. The collaboration with Mr. Lupin here is vital." Alex absorbed the information with a growing sense of both importance and apprehension. The weight of his new responsibilities settled upon him, a stark reminder of the stakes at play. He glanced between Mr. Carrow and Teddy Lupin, his mind racing with questions about the logistics of their collaboration. "I understand," Alex began, nodding slowly. "But in practical terms, how will we coordinate our efforts? Am I expected to report directly to you, Mr. Lupin?" The dynamics of their partnership needed to be clear if they were to proceed effectively. Teddy offered a reassuring smile. "Let's aim to meet once a week to review any progress or findings from your research," he suggested. "It'll give us a regular touchpoint to ensure we're aligned and can adjust our approach as needed." Alex's thoughts momentarily drifted to the whispering voice he had encountered, a secret known only to him. The prospect of delving deeper into the mysteries it promised was tantalizing, yet now it seemed he would have less time for such pursuits. He quickly refocused on the conversation, realizing the importance of the task at hand. "And will these meetings take place here, within the Department of Mysteries, or?" Alex's question trailed off, leaving the specifics of their working arrangement open for clarification. "You'll continue your work here," Teddy confirmed. "It's crucial that your investigation remains rooted in the environment it originated from. However, I'll be available for our scheduled meetings and any urgent matters that might arise." He then added, "Furthermore, I'll share with you any relevant information we uncover about Death Eater activity. The context might provide valuable insights into the runes and their potential significance today." At the mention of Death Eater, Alex noticed a subtle but unmistakable change in Mr. Carrow's demeanor. The man who had always seemed unshakable, a steadfast figure in the murky waters of the Department of Mysteries, stirred uncomfortably. His eyes flickered momentarily, betraying a flicker of unease or perhaps a shadow of a past best left unprobed. Alex internally grappled with his frustration over the unexpected turn of events. His silent contemplation of reaching out to the mysterious voice again would have to be postponed. However, outwardly he maintained his composure, understanding the critical nature of their collaborative effort. "Understood. It seems we have a lot of ground to cover," Alex finally said, the initial surprise of the arrangement giving way to a determined resolve. "I appreciate the opportunity to contribute more directly to the safety and security of our world." Mr. Carrow, who had been observing the exchange, nodded in approval. "Remember, Mr. Mercer, the work you're undertaking with Mr. Lupin is of paramount importance. It's imperative that you prioritize this collaboration." As the meeting concluded and Alex was left to ponder the path ahead, the significance of his role in bridging the gap between academic research and practical defense against dark forces became ever clearer. The journey into the unknown depths of magic and history was no longer just a scholarly pursuit, but a critical mission that could shape the future of their world. Earlier that morning, in the early hours before dawn, the Potter household stood as a beacon of warmth and love in a neighbourhood not far from the bustling life of the borough. The home, nestled amidst a quiet enclave where magical and muggle worlds intertwined seamlessly, radiated a sense of peace and stability, a testament to Harry and Ginny's life together after the war. The structure itself, a charming cottage with an enchanting twist, was adorned with vines that seemed to sparkle with dew and magic alike. The garden, a riot of colours and scents, whispered of Ginny's care, and Harry's occasional, albeit less skilled, attempts to help. Nearby, homes of friends and family dotted the landscape, creating a community bonded not just by location, but by shared history and enduring friendship. Inside, the silence of the early morning was a rare treasure. With James, Albus and Lily off to Hogwarts, the house felt larger, the quiet more profound. Harry, ever an early riser, moved through the rooms with a sense of nostalgia and contemplation. The walls, lined with pictures that moved and whispered with memories, told the story of battles fought, of love found, and of a family built amidst the remnants of war. In the kitchen, the heart of their home, Ginny was already up, the aroma of fresh coffee mingling with the lingering scents of last night's homemade dinner. The light from the rising sun filtered through the windows, casting a warm glow on the family photographs and drawings that adorned the fridge and walls, a mosaic of their life together. "Morning," Harry greeted, his voice soft, not wanting to disturb the tranquility of the dawn. Ginny turned, her smile brightening the room more than the morning light could. "Good morning. Coffee?" she asked, her tone carrying the warmth and familiarity of their years together. Harry nodded, then hesitated, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "Actually, I think I'll grab something from the Wand and Bean on my way in. Need to get an early start today," he mused, his mind already on the day ahead, filled with duties that awaited him at the Ministry and beyond. Ginny raised an eyebrow, a playful challenge in her gaze. "Skipping out on my coffee, Mr. Potter? Must be a big day." "It's just—" Harry began, then paused, considering his words. "It feels like we're on the cusp of something. The quiet. It's nice, but it's like the calm before the storm. I want to be ready." Ginny approached, her hand finding his, their fingers intertwining with ease. "We always are," she said firmly, her conviction echoing their shared experiences, the challenges they'd faced together and overcome. The conversation shifted, lighter now as they discussed the children. "Albus is worrying about his owls already," Harry chuckled, shaking his head. "Takes after Hermione, that one." Ginny laughed, the sound bright and clear. "And Lily's already planning her campaign for Quidditch captain next year. James is just being James, trying to charm his way through classes." Their laughter and shared looks filled the kitchen, a moment of joy amidst the quiet morning. But as Harry kissed Ginny goodbye and stepped out into the dawn, the warmth of their home stayed with him, a steady warmth as he faced whatever the day might bring. Although years had passed since the shadow of the last wizarding war had been lifted from the magical world, Harry Potter carried within him a perpetual sense of duty. It was a responsibility that weighed both lightly and heavily on his shoulders, for he had become a guardian of what was now considered one of the most tranquil periods in the annals of wizarding history. Yet tranquility often cloaked turmoil, and Harry was all too aware of the undercurrents that threatened the peace. Within the hallowed halls of the Ministry of Magic, Harry's department, the Auror Office, was the vanguard against darkness that refused to fade. On a daily basis, they traced the intricate web of dealings and movements of over a dozen groups loyal to the ideologies of the Death Eaters. These factions, like malignant shadows, persisted in the aftermath of the Dark Lord's demise. Harry, leading a team of exceptional talent and dedication, took pride in their success at keeping these splinter groups at bay. Yet the occasional disappearance of a ministry employee served as a grim reminder of the importance of vigilance, of the cost of peace. The Order of the Phoenix, once a formidable coalition, standing defiantly in the face of darkness, had now diminished to a more subdued assembly. Its meetings, once urgent gatherings illuminated by the fervour of battle, had become infrequent, attended by a handful of insiders who shared a common history and a relentless commitment to the light. Harry, ever the pragmatist yet guided by a deep-seated idealism, had kept the Order's flame alight, not out of nostalgia, but necessity. He harboured a gnawing concern for the Ministry's vulnerability, a place where he had fought so valiantly to establish justice. The war had ended, but the battle for the soul of the wizarding world continued in corridors of power and persuasion. A number of former Death Eaters, cloaked in the guise of reformed characters, had insinuated themselves into the Ministry's ranks. They proclaimed their innocence, attributing their past transgressions to the imperious curse, a convenient veil for their misdemeanours. Harry's intuition, honed through years of conflict and camaraderie, whispered warnings of these veiled threats. Harry made his way to the Wand and Bean for his customary cup of coffee. These thoughts swirled within him, a silent storm that never fully abated. The crisp morning air brushed against his skin as he walked, the first rays of dawn casting long shadows on the cobblestone paths that led him to his destination. The Wand and Bean was a quaint establishment that had quickly become Harry's preferred haunt. Nestled between a bookshop and a potions vendor, its unassuming facade belied the warmth and welcome that awaited within. As he pushed open the door, the familiar chime announced his arrival, mingling with the soft murmur of conversations and the rich aroma of brewed coffee. Behind the counter stood a young barista, Owen, whose enthusiasm for his work was matched only by his admiration for Harry. Each visit was met with the same wide-eyed wonder, a reaction that Harry found both endearing and a tad overwhelming. "Good morning, Mr. Potter," Owen greeted, his voice tinged with the excitement that never seemed to wane. "The usual today?" Harry offered a small, genuine smile, appreciating the semblance of normalcy these interactions brought to his day. "Yes, please, Owen. And how's the brew today?" "Exceptional, if I do say so myself," Owen replied, bustling about to prepare Harry's order. His hands moved with practised ease, yet his glances towards Harry were filled with an unspoken curiosity, a yearning for tales of bravery and adventure. As Owen handed over the steaming cup, his fingers brushed against Harry's, a momentary connection that seemed to electrify the young man. The transition from the quiet, enchanting streets to the bustling heart of the Ministry of Magic was one Harry had made countless times, yet it never ceased to evoke a deep sense of purpose within him. Today was no exception. As he passed through the concealed entrance, the vibrant pulse of the wizarding government's nerve centre enveloped him, a stark contrast to the serene dawn outside. The atrium of the ministry was a hive of activity, with witches and wizards of all ranks and departments crisscrossing the expanse, their robes swishing in a symphony of purposeful motion. Harry navigated through the crowd with a practised ease, his thoughts on the day ahead. Yet even here, in the heart of the wizarding world's bureaucratic might, there was a hint of the ordinary that brought a smile to his face. The enchanted paper airplanes that served as interdepartmental memos zipped through the air, some narrowly missing unsuspecting heads as they made their deliveries. Harry, a veteran of these airborne missives, deftly dodged a particularly aggressive memo that zoomed towards him as he approached the elevators. With a chuckle, he stepped into the lift, joining a small crowd of ministry employees as they ascended to their respective destinations. Exiting at the floor housing the Aura's office, Harry was immediately greeted by the familiar sight of bustling desks, flickering candlelight, and the ever-present undercurrent of urgency that defined their work. It was here, among his colleagues and the daily grind of their duties, that Harry felt a keen sense of belonging. As he made his way to his office, he spotted Teddy Lupin, his godson, leaning against the doorframe with an easy grin on his face. Teddy, now a promising young Aura himself, had taken to the profession with a natural grace, his talent and dedication a source of pride for Harry. "Morning, Teddy," Harry greeted, returning the smile. "Morning, Harry. Bit of a rush today, aren't we?" Teddy's eyes twinkled with mirth, his hair today a subtle shade of blue, reflecting his buoyant mood. "Just had to make a quick stop on the way in. What's on the agenda for you today?" Harry inquired, stepping into his office and gesturing for Teddy to follow. Teddy got straight to the point. "We've asked for some assistance from the Department of Mysteries on those runes uncovered at Dolohov's hideout. I'm setting up a regular meeting between our departments to coordinate our efforts more closely." Harry's mind flickered to the cache of ancient runes, a puzzle that hinted at depths of magic, yet untapped and potentially dangerous. "Good idea. Collaboration might shed some light on Dolohov's intentions. Just tread carefully around Mr. Carrow. He's not one to share too much with." Teddy nodded, a wry smile crossing his face. "Don't worry. I've kept Carrow at arm's length. Actually, seems they delegated the work to a newcomer, Alex Mercer. Fresh perspective and all that." Harry raised an eyebrow, a memory surfacing. Mercer. Ran into him recently. Seemed like a good kid, sharp, but still. "Keep an eye on things, Teddy. We don't know what we're dealing with yet." "I will," Teddy assured him. Their exchange meandered to different topics, yet Harry's mind remained partly tethered to Alex Mercer. The young ministry employee had approached him with a boldness at the Wand and Bean, broaching subjects that many dared not whisper. It was an uncommon thing indeed for someone to inquire so openly about the war and Harry's deeply personal battles within it. Most wizards and witches, either out of respect or a palpable sense of trepidation, steered clear of such delicate matters. They seldom mentioned the names of those Harry had held dear and lost in the shadow of conflict. Alex had broken that unspoken rule, his questions piercing the veil of silence that often surrounded Harry. This audacity had left an impression on Harry, a mixture of surprise and a grudging respect. It was a rare individual who could tread so boldly, yet it was precisely this kind of courage and inquisitiveness that the ministry needed. Alex Mercer found himself seated at his desk in the quiet, secretive expanse of the Department of Mysteries, confronted with a challenge that seemed to stretch across his desk. Before him lay 3 ancient tomes, each a bearer of history's silent whispers, their pages a delicate testament to a bygone era. These were not just books, but relics of a forgotten past, each word and rune inscribed with the wisdom and mysteries of ancient magics. The language within these texts presented a puzzle far more intricate than anything Alex had encountered during his days at Hogwarts. He was aware that nestled within these fragile pages might lie knowledge with the potential to redefine the very contours of magical history. Alternatively, they could simply be pilfered artifacts from ordinary Death Eater plunder containing little of significance. The only certainty, Alex reflected as he blew away some of the dust, was their antiquity. Understanding the vulnerability of these precious artifacts, Alex first cast a preservation spell, a soft incantation that wrapped the tomes in a protective sheen of golden light. This spell, while gentle, was potent, ensuring the ancient bindings and brittle pages were shielded from the decay of time and the touch of the present. With the tomes safeguarded, Alex embarked on the next phase of his task, making his way to the Ministry's library. This vast repository of magical knowledge was a scholar's haven, its towering shelves home to the collective wisdom of the wizarding world. Settling into a secluded nook within the library, the ancient books arrayed before him seemed to glow softly under the spell's protection. Alex then began the arduous task of translation, a journey through the mysterious complexity of languages that predated modern magical understanding. The dialects were daunting, with passages in Old Merlinesque, archaic runespur, and even snippets of proto-gobbledygook, each demanding a nuanced comprehension, far beyond the scope of typical linguistic study. As the hours unfolded, Alex's initial enthusiasm met the harsh reality of the task. The process was painstaking, each word a riddle, each sentence a maze with no clear exit. The strange symbols and unusual lettering resisted his every attempt at interpretation, their meanings shrouded in the mists of time. Realizing the depth of his challenge, Alex delved deeper into the library's resources, searching for the keys that might unlock the secrets held tight within the tome's pages. He navigated the endless rows of books, each title a promise of potential insight, pulling volumes from shelves with a scholar's determination. The day wore on, the shadows lengthening around him, yet progress eluded him. For every moment of clarity, a dozen questions sprang forth, the weird letters and obscure symbols defying his attempts to place them within the known lexicon of magical language. Exhaustion set in, not just of the body, but of the mind, as Alex confronted the humbling realization that this was a puzzle that would not yield so easily to his will. The tomes remained enigmatic, their secrets locked away behind layers of linguistic evolution lost to the sands of time. As the library's candles began to dim, marking the end of the day's pursuit, Alex Mercer was left with more questions than answers. The ancient tomes, for all their tantalizing promise, remained silent guardians of their mysteries. As the week waned, Alex found himself loitering around Lena's desk more frequently than his own, his frustration with the scant progress on his rune translation project becoming increasingly palpable. The indecipherable languages of the ancient runes seemed almost to mock him with their complexity, driving him to seek solace in light-hearted banter and the camaraderie that had blossomed between him and Lena amidst the cryptic shadows of the Department of Mysteries. On one such afternoon, with the weekend's promise casting a golden hue over the office, Alex broached the subject of unwinding after the week's toils. "Hey, Lena, it's Friday. What do you say we hit the leaky cauldron after work?" A bit of downtime could do us good, he suggested, hopeful for a companionable evening at their familiar haunt. Lena's response, however, was tinged with regret. I'd love to, Alex, but I've promised my mum I'd be home for dinner tonight. She's preparing her legendary treacle tart. She makes it with bourbon vanilla custard that's absolutely divine. I really can't skip it, she said, her anticipation for the evening's culinary treat evident in her voice. Catching a hint of disappointment in Alex's demeanour, Lena quickly added a tempting alternative. But how about this? Why don't you come along? And after dinner we can head to the Three Broomsticks for a drink. It might be a nice break from the usual. How does that sound? Slightly taken aback by the invitation, yet intrigued and delighted by the prospect, Alex hesitated for a moment before voicing his concern. Are you sure your mum won't mind me dropping in unexpectedly? I wouldn't want to impose, he asked, wary of encroaching on their family evening. Lena laughed lightly, waving away his concerns with a dismissive hand. Oh, of course not. I've told you before, she's quite fond of you. Believe me, Mum will be thrilled to have you over, she assured him, her eyes sparkling with sincerity. Feeling his spirits buoyed by Lena's words and the warmth of the invitation, Alex found himself agreeing with newfound eagerness. Well, in that case, count me in, he accepted, his earlier frustrations momentarily forgotten in the light of the unexpected evening plans. Fantastic! Let's meet up near the ministry entrance after we're done for the day, and we'll flew to my place. Mum's going to be excited. She doesn't get many visitors these days, Lena said, her smile broadening. As they finished their tasks and prepared to leave for the day, Alex felt a comforting sense of anticipation. The daunting challenges of his work receded, replaced by the simple pleasure of spending an evening with Lena and the promise of homemade treacle tart. It was moments like these, he reflected, that made the arduous and often solitary pursuit of knowledge within the Department of Mysteries bearable, a reminder of the friendships and shared experiences that lay just beyond its secretive walls.